food dependency. And if other countries need money to develop, if the United States can, in effect, have its banks raid these countries, creating a foreign exchange crisis, countries will have a choice. Either they can withdraw from the world trade and financial system and go their own way, or they can join, but the price of joining, the price of being a member, is they have to agree to not to protect their own agriculture, but to build in a special favoritism to U.S. agriculture. My book, Super Imperialism, explains how this is done in the trade field and in the financial field.
I've always been a little mystified as to why everyone joins the IMF and the World Bank, why they don't go it alone.
The question you're asking is, who are they? Who is Argentina? Who is Brazil? It's not as if the whole country makes this decision. These countries are very largely their own oligarchies. For instance, when I started the Third World Bond Fund for Sutter Stevens in 1990, Brazilian and Argentine bonds were yielding 45% interest. Nobody would buy these bonds in America. Sutter was unable to sell shares in the funds to American buyers or to European buyers. The buyers were wealthy families in Brazil and Argentina because they knew that they were going to pay the debt. So the dollar debt, the Yankee imperialists that were being blamed were actually Argentinian and Brazilian oligarchs operating through offshore funds with dollars that they'd siphoned out of their own country. So if you have a country that's run like Saudi Arabia is run, or other dictatorships, a client dictatorship run by a client oligarchy is kept in place by essentially the U.S. diplomacy against the domestic democracy. That's why America backed dictators in Latin America for 50 years after World War II. And President Johnson said, well, they may be bastards, but they're our bastards. So the interest of the oligarchy is basically to make their economies dependent offshore because the oligarchs have their money outside of these countries. There's a massive capital flight there, and the more their currency goes down, the more their currency becomes dependent, the more they have to borrow dollars, the more they borrow from their own domestic oligarchy, and the higher the value this oligarchy that has its money abroad has vis-a-vis its own domestic economy. So the interest of the rentier oligarchy that's floating on top of the economy, as Werner Sombart said, like globules of fat on the soup of the economy, they benefit from this, while the economy as a whole suffers. This is the problem with neoliberal reform. It's created oligarchies throughout the former Soviet countries. We can see this from the Baltics to Central Asia and what's happened there. We can see it in Latin America. We can see in what the U.S. and Europe have been promoting in the Near East, from Saudi Arabia and other countries. The interest of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain is not that of their citizens. It's the interest of the rulers on top of these economies.
You have written that the bailout of Greek sovereign debt amounts to financial warfare. That is the selling off of the Greek islands, the Athens airport, etc. How is this stripping of Greek assets accomplished?
Essentially, the European Central Bank and the IMF told Greece, look, you have to run a budget surplus or minimize your deficit in order to meet the criteria that the Eurozone members meet. So you're going to have to balance the budget, not by taxing the rich, that's our constituency, but by selling off your airports and your public domain and counting this as a budget inflow. So you balance your budget not by progressive taxation, which is how America and Western Europe got rich, but by selling off the public domain to foreigners mainly. And The idea is that you're going to get rich by selling it off because these new buyers are going to operate the water and airports and other things more efficiently and lower your prices. Well, of course, this is pure mythology. When you privatize a basic infrastructure, it's privatized on credit, and so the new owners build in their interest charges and financial charges into the cost of doing business. They pay themselves enormous salaries, much higher than the public sector would pay, and they begin to treat their monopoly position as if they can put a toll booth on the roads, a toll booth on the water and sewer, a toll booth anywhere, and if the governments don't have a price regulating system in place to treat these infrastructure investments like public utilities and keep their prices in line with the necessary costs of production, then you're going to turn the whole economy into what economists call rent extraction. Predatory monopoly charges, just like rent ragging, except on the scale of the water, sewer, the broadcasting spectrum, telephones, and you have the economy ending up looking like Mexico, where they privatized the telephones, and Carlos Slim became the owner and became the wealthiest person in the world by making Mexico pay the highest prices for using telephones in the communication spectrum of any country in the world. That's the neoliberal model, saying, Greece, you can get rich by letting the Carlos Slims of the world come in and take your economy. And we're not going to do this by an army. We're not going to land paratroopers. We're going to just give a political contribution to your socialist party members to vote to give all of this away. We're going to do it financially without any bloodshed.
Michael Hudson, thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Something happened, yeah. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there.
I've been speaking with Dr. Michael Hudson. Today's show has been Guns, Finance, and Butter. Finance is the new mode of warfare. Dr. Hudson is a financial economist and historian. He is president of the Institute for the Study of Long-Term Economic Trend, a Wall Street financial analyst, and distinguished research professor of economics at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. His 1972 book, Super Imperialism, the Economic Strategy of American Empire, is a critique of how the United States exploited foreign economies through the IMF and World Bank. He is also author of Trade Development and Foreign Debt and Global Fracture, the New International Economic Order, among many others. Dr. Hudson has been a consultant to foreign governments, including Canada, Mexico, and Russia. Visit his website at www.michael-hudson.com. That's michael-hudson.com. Guns and Butter is produced and edited by Bonnie Faulkner and Yaramoto. To leave comments or order copies of shows, email us at blfaulkner@yahoo.com. That's blfaulkner@yahoo.com. Visit our website at www.gunsandbutter.org. That's GUNSANDBUTTER.org.